Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see you on a Wednesday night. And as our classes and everybody's going, good to see you in here with me. We're pressing through the book of Mark. Last week we talked about, and I know last week was a little bit of a heavy on the teaching because we were making the transition from all the miracles that Jesus is doing, all the different places he's traveled and gone. And now his ministry is starting to change. It's starting to transition into him. We are at about year 2.5 of 3. So he's got about maybe 6 to 4 more months of what he will pour into and really question his disciples. Do you understand? Are you ready for what's fixing to happen? He will begin talking a lot about it's very soon I'm going to be gone. And he starts to do this. And so all of this transition is taking place. So we've enjoyed the first half where Superman has been doing all these miracles. And now we're getting into where he's in this season teaching and really some of the most powerful moments of the Bible that we have. In fact, tonight we will deal with one of those most powerful moments that gets talked about a lot. And we want to break it down, and I want to try to explain it a little deeper and maybe pull out some things you don't know. But turn with me in your Bibles to Luke 8, or Mark 8, and beginning at verse 27. Mark 8 and beginning at verse 27. We'll go all the way to verse 38 tonight in our study in Mark. And I keep thinking I'm going to get through by Christmas. And I'm like, man, that's a good one. I don't want to skip that one, and I don't want to skip. And so I'm gonna try to start skipping a few of them here, there, and there to try to get us through, not cover everything he does, but hopefully we'll be able to make it by Christmas. And so as we begin to read, I want to entitle this tonight, Your Possession. Your Possession. Is there anything that you possess that is more valuable than anything else? Is there anything that you possess? For some people, it could be a car that they've got locked up somewhere, and it could be a motorcycle. It could be, you go through a lot of different things. I was just flipping through the internet and just looking, and it's like William Shatner, who was Star Trek guy, his kidney stone sold for $12,000 on auction. I'm thinking, all right. And it's crazy stuff. It's the Superman, first Superman comic book that ever came out sold for $1.3 million. The first little comic book that was ever put out and stuck in a drugstore sold for $1.3 million. And when you look up those things, some of them are crazy. Han Solo's gun in the Star Trek sold for like $1 million. And you're like, who would pay $1 million to have a toy gun? But what is it in your life? Now, you may have a gun or something at your house. And like, that's my prized possession. That was my great-great-grandfather's. Most all of us have something that's a prized possession. And tonight I want to discuss what Christ or what the Lord wants you to have as your most prized possession and the value of it. So let's begin. Now Jesus and his disciples went out into the towns of Caesarea Philippi. And on the road he asked his disciples, saying to them, "Who do men say that I am?" So they answered him, "John the Baptist, but some say Elijah, and others one of the prophets." And he said unto them, "But who do you say that I am?" And Peter answered and said unto him, "You are the Christ." Now the first part of this I want us to walk through as we just kind of think about possessions, things that are prized. Here's what Matthew says. Turn with me to Matthew 16 and 26. And this will be repeated shortly as we get further down in our scriptures, but this is what it says in Matthew. "For what profit is it for a man who gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his own soul?" Jesus is emphatic that the most precious, most unattainable, priceless possession you have is your soul. And we don't think that because we sell it, trade it for a lot of things these days. We see people all the time just with no regard to their life. They'll figure it out later. But Jesus said, listen to me, the most powerful and most precious thing that you possess is your soul. In fact, because of this, if you were to gain everything in the whole world, and some of those things are other things that I was reading about, and there's one painting that was painted on a piece of plywood. And it sold for $2.5 million. It's a 4x8 exactly piece of plywood that somebody... And I think to myself, I'll probably work my whole life and won't have enough to buy that one painting. If you added all my income up and through all the years of everything I ever made and sold and stole somewhere along the way probably when I was younger. But the fact was, somebody's going to have that hanging somewhere in their house. $2.5 million. There's purses. $2.1 million. You think of a Rolex, and I paid $10,000, but there's Rolexes made by Chaplin that are worth $3 million. They're gold-plated. They're diamond-studded. And I'm thinking, wow, what do you do with that? You just go look at it every now and then? You just pull it out just on, special occasions just for... But what is it in your life that you say is precious? It's costly, it's worth buying a security system to make sure nobody gets it. I know people that they love guns. They built their gun safe first, built the house around it. I know it sounds crazy. I've seen it. You cannot get in the gun safe. The house may blow totally away, but the gun safe will be. And I'm thinking, okay, that is your most prized possession. And so, when we start off in this, let's walk through what Jesus is doing. Number one, when we're going to make this decision, or we're going to make this transition, and we're going to make this walk and understanding of what is my prized possession, then number one, we must first believe and confess that Jesus is Lord. If you're going to take full charge of what is your prized possession, you would think that it would begin with me just saying, hey, I treasure myself, I treasure my life. But it doesn't begin there because you don't know the value of it. The reason we sell it, the reason we cheapen it, the reason we do all of that is because literally we don't know the true value of it. And because we don't know the true value of it, we are constantly just saying, well, yeah, it's worth that. It's worth that boyfriend, or it's worth that girlfriend, or it's worth, hanging out with that group, or it's worth selling my life, my reputation, my everything that I have, my value, to give it away. Because where it has to begin is, who's going to determine its true value? In the world, they're trying to solve the problem by saying, hey, we need to love one another, we need to care for one another, we need to treat each other with respect, But you've already told them that when they die, they go back to dirt. You've already told them that their life has no real value, that the only value that their life has is at this moment. The momentary thing. You've told them that whatever fun you can have right at the moment, it's the real true value. And then to come back and say, but you need to care about others' feelings. Well, it doesn't compute. I need $50. You've got $50. If I kill you, I'll have $50. I like your car. I don't have a car. If I shoot you or I beat you up and I take your car, I can go ride in it. So we live our lives then trying to from this perspective. Now, this is important because we need to walk through what just takes place. Go back with me at the beginning of this, and let's read beginning at verse 27 again. Now, Jesus and his disciples went out of the towns of Caesarea Philippi. Now, I need to explain this because you would think that, okay, what's significant about this moment that Jesus takes this moment and begins to speak? Because this is one place that the Pharisees would not be. This is one area. This is not just another town that he goes to. In fact, it says he went out of the towns of Caesarea, and on the road, he's passing through a town, an area. Let me describe it to you. That'll make better sense. So when we talk about Caesarea Philippi, this was a pagan Roman city that had a temple dedicated to a half man and a half goat named Pan. So outside the city walls, on the waterfall area, there is a temple that's dedicated to a half man, half goat. And this is the area where no Pharisees or there's no crowd around him. There's no one running up to him to ask to be healed. This is a pagan city. This is a pagan area. Why would Jesus take them? I mean, if you're going to ask, who am I? You'd want to be, right after you fed the 5,000, that would be a good time to turn to your disciples and say, who do you think I am? Oh, you the man. No, he doesn't do that. He takes them to an area where there is no there is no one wanting healing. No one even believes he can heal anybody. He's walking through an area that's as anti-God as there could be. And while he walks through this area, listen, it has a huge spring that gushes from the cave of the side of a massive mountain there. And the temple was built over the gushing spring that is known as the gates of Hades. That's what they call the waterfall. The gates of hell. Sounds like New Orleans, kind of area. It would have that kind of, it would like, if I took you to New Orleans and walked down, the streets there and said, who do you think I am? I don't know. I don't even know why I'm here. That's what he's doing. He's putting them in an area where they have to literally answer the question in a place where there's literally nothing pulling at them. It was a wicked city. Many scholars believe Jesus visited the area because he knew there would not be not one Jew in that area. He knew that there would not be one person that would be calling him the Christ. And at this place and at this moment, in this location, is when Jesus asked the question, who do men say that I am? Who do men say that I am? Because he's making the transition from all the miracles, all that you've seen, all that you've done. And we've taught this about in the process of the Jews in the wilderness. He's brought them out of Egypt. He's done the miracles. He's done this. And he finally asked them to be obedient or to accept him as God. He brings them to Mount Sinai. Well, this is the same thing. I've told you it never changes. The system never changes. He does the same thing to the disciples that he does to us. Maybe he heals you of something. Maybe you are brought through something. Maybe he delivered you of something. And man, you got saved and you gave your life to God and God brought you out. And then it's like, boy, that's when you want to ask, who is Jesus? Oh, I can tell you who Jesus is. But it's going to happen later when it kind of dries up. That's when he's going to ask you who I am. He didn't ask me who he was when I was young and when everything was great. No, it's in those moments of my life where it's like, God, nothing's working. This is not good. Who am I, Tim? Anybody ever have to face that? When things are not right and they're not good, maybe right now tonight, you may be there. This is a desert place. It's a dry place. I don't have answers for certain things and certain situations and certain people in my life and Jesus does this. He takes us to places that Look, I'm looking at this half man, half goat. I'm at the gates of Hades, waterfall, and you want to know who you are. I just don't even want to be here. There's no crowd. There's no miracles. There's no... I know. I want to know right now, right where you are, who do people say that I am? Now, it's easy to answer that question because we can say what other people have asked. And then Jesus starts off by asking them, who do people say that I am? So if we're going through that moment and it's like, well, Lord, some people think you're Elijah, come from the dead. Some say you're John the Baptist, come to life again. Some believe, Lord, God, there's all kind of theologies out there about who you are. And I can see the kind of laughter, the joking, like, who do people say I am? Who do they say I am? And as soon as they give several answers, he stops and he says, now who do you say that I am? We've been together for over 2 years now. Who do you say I am? Right where you are, right in the quiet, right here sitting with no fanfare, no miracles, who do you believe that I am? And in the middle of this, Peter makes his statement. Peter cries out, "Thou art the Christ." Now I want you to understand, this is I know normally we just say that and we just kind of run on by it. Oh, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. I want you to understand what Peter is saying. Peter lives under Roman rule, Roman occupation. There is only one Lord, and the Lord is Caesar. Each year they have to go and pay and decree unto everyone that Caesar is Lord. They have to willfully pay their taxes and decry Caesar is Lord. And the greatest revolution that is fixing to begin, the greatest revolution is fixing to be embarked, is what Jesus is transitioning into right here. Not the miracles, not the wonders and the signs and all the things. It is going to hinge on this one powerful statement. Who do you say that I am? And Peter makes a decree that for the next 2,000 plus years we have made that has cost people their lives, has cost people their jobs, has cost people their fortunes, has cost people their marriages, has cost people everything that they have. You and you alone are the Lord. You and you alone are the King. I'll show you how powerful this is. Remember when Jesus is being taken by Caiaphas and them to Caesar or to Pilate, and they go and they say, look, this man, he is accused of doing what? What was the reason they killed him? Do what? He has declared that he is a king. I want you to understand how powerful this moment is. Jesus did not die for no other reason than the Jews could not accept it, that he has called himself and redeemed himself as the king. And when they bring him to Caesar, and they say, he has done something that's unlawful. He has declared that he is a king. And there is only one king. In fact, the Pharisees will tell Caesar, that's how they put pressure on him, because he says, I'll let him go. And they said, we'll tell Caesar that you have let a man run around and call himself a king. We are loyal to Caesar, but Pilate, you must not be. The very reason that he dies and is crucified. Pilate's first question to Jesus, are you a king? And Jesus says, you say. In other words, you say whatever you want to say. Later, he will tell him, are you a king? Do you not know I have power to take you? He says, if my kingdom was of this world, my servants would rise. But my kingdom is not of this world. I want you to see how powerful a moment this is. We just run by it like it's just something. Up until this time, they call him master, teacher. This is the transition point that for the next thousands of years, the world will never be the same, because one has stepped on the scene and has decried that I am the king. Not only am I the king, but I am the returning king. When I come back, I won't come back as nothing but the king. It doesn't matter about India, Indonesia, Germany, Russia. Do you understand that our belief says that when He returns, He will sit on the throne of David and He will rule over every kingdom there is in the world? That is our statement. That is our whole punchline to the world. What do you believe? My king is coming back, and my king will sit on the throne, and my king will rule and reign. So when Peter makes this statement, he is taking their ministry to a whole different level. No wonder that Jesus says immediately after this, number 2, when you make this statement, then what it will automatically attack then is the ego that lives inside of you. So number 2. Number 1, I must make the confession. If I am going to understand my value, if I'm going to understand the value of my life, then I have to understand first that I am part of His kingdom. I am part of His family. Number 2, that remove your ego from the throne then of your life. If He is the king, then it will next attack the throne of your ego. Let's read a little further. Then He strictly warned them that they should tell no one about Him. Why? What would happen? They'd all get killed. He wasn't trying to be super spiritual. He's just like, hey, what you just said, good stuff. If I had time, we'd go to the other parts of the Bible where He expands on that more. But the fact is, He says, you got it. Now here's the thing. Don't go telling nobody that yet. Keep that to yourself, because that is what He's meaning is what's going to get me killed. So don't go saying anything. Don't rush it. Don't speed it up. Then He strictly warned them that they should tell no man about it. And He began to teach them, and it's amazing, here we go. So the very next verse, and He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things. So we just said He's the Christ, the Son of the living God. He's all-powerful, almighty. He is the King. And then He turns right back around, and the very next line, He calls Himself the what? So what He's trying to tell them is, yes, everything that you're saying is true. It's just not happening yet. In its time, everything will happen as it should, but right now, let me explain to you what's going on. So he says, you got it. You got the big picture. The big picture, I am the king. The big picture, I am the Lord. The big picture, yes, I am all of that and a bag of chips. But as for now, the Son of Man must suffer many things. And he must be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes. What are they rejecting him on? That he's the king. He says, I must be rejected by the scribes, the elders, everybody, the high priest, and be killed for this. This doesn't sound, it's like, okay, you're the king. Yes, I am the king, but here's the plan. And the plan sometimes doesn't line up with what you know. Isn't that the hardest part of Christian walk? It's like, God, I know you can do that. God, I know you could fix this. God, I know you could heal this. God, I know. And the answer is yes. But let me tell you the plan. The plan is we're going to go this direction. And the plan is I'm not going to fix it like that. And the plan is I'm not going to do that. And the plan is and be rejected of the elders and the priests and be killed, and after 3 days I will rise again. And he spoke this word openly. So he didn't just say, here, let me tell you something. He says, listen. And he says this openly. He just says, listen, let me tell you something. Peter got it right, but let me tell you something. And then immediately, as soon as he tells them, here's what's fixing to happen, here's what's got to take place, guess who jumps back up? Peter. The same Peter that just got it right. He got it right, man. Just you got a win. Sit down. But Peter always wants to win. He wants to win if you were to play checkers with him, he wants to win every game. He won't remember the one that he won. He's going to remember the one he lost. He hates losing. And so he's got it figured out. You are the Christ, man. This is what we're fixing to do. We're fixing to build 3 temples. We're fixing to run this thing. Rome is fixing to crumble to us. I'm talking about it's fixing to get good. And then Jesus comes out with, now listen, shortly now I'm going to be rejected and killed and I'm going to die and they're going to bury me, but don't worry. I know you've never seen it before, but 3 days later I'm going to come back. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. The same person. Now, how do you tell someone you are the Lord and at the same time have the ability to tell them they're messing up? Now, I know it sounds strange, but do you know we do that all the time? We'll come on Sunday, God, just hit that praise song one more time. How great is our God? How great. Oh man, and then come Monday, God, I don't know what you're doing. Anybody could see all you have to do is this and it would fix the problem. I don't understand what's going on. It's amazing how quick we go because what it is ego. Our problem is ego. And that's why, number 2, we must remove our ego from the throne of your life. It's the hardest thing you have to do on a regular basis. And check. Let me read a little further. And he spoke the word openly. Then Peter took him aside, began to rebuke him. But when he had turned around and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, so Peter decides, Lord, let me talk to you. Because, I'm the one that knows who you are. And he pulls him to the side and says, now, we got to quit talking this stuff. This is not going to happen. We're not going to let you die. We'll all kill folks before we let you die. And then Jesus kind of shrugs him off, turns back toward all the disciples, and here's what he says. Get behind me. He doesn't say this quietly. He says it openly. He turns right, but Peter is standing there by himself because he's a winner. And Jesus shrugs him off, walks back toward the disciples and says, get behind me, Satan. For you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of... Look at the person beside you and say, definition of ego. The definition of ego is that you are mindful of the things of your flesh, but you are not mindful of the things of God. Let me see if I can give it to you in a picture form that'll work better. Imagine a giant circle. A giant circle. And in that circle is one big chair. One big chair. So to do that, we do it like this. So imagine this rug. And in the middle of this rug this is my whole life. And on this I sit on the throne of it. I'm watching everything that's going on. I'm in charge. I got it. Now, how do I know, Brother Lott, that I'm sitting on the throne? How do I know that the Lord's not sitting on the throne? Well, glad you asked. Let me show you what an ego life looks like. And this is the simplest way to describe it. An ego life always uses actions to influence my attitude. Okay, so if I'm unhappy, then what's my solution? Talk to me. Okay, that means I need to do something. I need to find me a girlfriend. That's going to make me happy. I need to change my job. My boss doesn't treat me right. In other words, every time that I'm sitting on the throne, the answer to every problem in my life is another what? It's another I action. It's an action that means that I need to do something that will create influence or create attitude. In other words, I use my actions to influence my attitude. How you doing today? I'm all right. Why are you just all right? You're breathing, living. You got, because nothing is happening that I feel like is. But now if I walk up to someone who, just found $20 on the road, how you doing today? Man, I'm doing good. I'm telling you, it is a good day. All right, just because $20 was found on the road, now your day is good. And so we sit on our throne, and what do? Oh, if I had this, oh man, if I could get this, if I could do that, if I could. The world knows this. That's why they have a thing called advertisements. While you're watching your favorite show, people do advertisements. So if you buy the right Windex, you will be happy. If you buy the right car, you'll be happy. If you call the Ocean Man and you don't have a crack in your house, you're going to be happy. If your air conditioner ain't cool enough and you need it better, it doesn't matter. Every commercial, especially if you're a sports fanatic like me, guys, what is the commercial that comes on 99% of the time? If you don't feel manly enough, here's a pill that you can take that'll make you feel. I mean, if you watch sports, now we ain't even got to make it up. It's like Nugenics, this and that, and Super T and that. And I'm thinking, Lord, have mercy. Why do they do that? Because while you're sitting there, they know that you're not going to feel good about yourself as a person who has an ego without action. Let me give it to you in this description. Let me give you a way you can look at ego. Ego, edging God out. Ego is just edging God out. And here's what it looks like. If I had inside this circle and I had just different things set inside this circle, just different things that were just all in here. Here's what they would be inside my circle of life. Let me just kind of describe it. So some characteristics of this ego that I'm talking about would be a legalistic attitude. So to make my world work, I have to have first a legalistic attitude. Hey, I don't know about, I'm doing the right thing. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm doing the right thing. Right? Okay. How about some more? Impure thoughts. It's hard to control what you think inside your world. How about this? If you know that you're having ego problems, you could have guilt. You're constantly eat up with guilt. Man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have. Do you know the suicide rate is blowing up right now? People are unhappy being the king of their own throne, their own kingdom. They're sitting on their throne. They're looking all around and they feel guilty. They feel like their life is wasted. It doesn't mean anything. I'd be better off gone. The world would be better off without me. How about worry? Discouragement. A critical spirit, even when you see somebody doing something, well, you know how they are. You're not even happy when somebody else does good. Frustration. Aimlessness. What do you want to do? I don't know. I don't even know what I could do to fix all that's going on in my life. I got so many things wrong, so many things that are undone, so many things. You ever hear people talk like this? I hear people talk like this all the time. And you know what the problem is? It's who's sitting on the throne. Now you can't ask them, hey, do you believe in Jesus? Oh, yeah. Ask Peter, do you believe in Jesus? Oh, yeah. He's the Christ. As long as he's doing what I know what we need to be doing. As long as he's doing what I know we need to be doing, we're good. But if he gets a little out of line, I have to carry him to the side and tell him, now look, you're talking crazy. Because you know we can't do that here in our world. I mean, the whole reason we're following you is so that you would make us all little kings. We would all be part of your kingdom, and we would all, who knows, I may be the captain of the guard in your king. I don't know, but in your kingdom, it's going to be cool. But you dying is not part of any of my... Because when you talk like that, now I start to feel aimless. I start getting worried, anxiety, fear, frustration. See, if my actions aren't right, then I'm overwhelmed by my attitude. So I use actions. So when you look at people, and you may ask this question about people all the time, why in the world would they do that? You ever see somebody do something just like, you're like, that's crazy. Why would somebody do that? Because if you were sitting on their throne, and you saw the frustration that they saw every day and the hopelessness, and there's nothing working, and my life is miserable, and I'm sitting here and I'm the king. I can do what I want to do. Don't tell me what to do. But nothing's working. That's a lonely place to be. So I use actions to fight back the worry, the guilt, the anxiety, the aimlessness. And as long as you sit on the throne, it will be that way. As long as you sit on the throne of your life, you will spend most of your energy fighting back the feelings that you can't control. And you will end up doing things. You may go buy a brand new car. Be driving down the road, and for months it may be like, yeah, man, that's where it makes my life. I got my car. And then one day you're going to walk out and somebody keyed it, or you had a flat tire, and then you realize a tire costs $500 and something. Then you're like, I can't afford this thing. I can't. Now I've got more anxiety because now every time I look at that car, I'm thinking, I still got 6 years to pay on that thing. That thing will be in the junkyard before I get through paying for it. Trying to add things. Go to the casino. Watch this. Let's go do this. Let's spend what we got. Let's max out our credit. Whatever it may be. You're using things to affect your attitude. That's ego. That's ego. And that's how you know that ego is there, and it means that you're sitting on the throne. With Peter, it's not hard to figure out. But when he turned around and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter, "Get behind me." Why? Because what does Satan want? He wants to sit on the throne. Satan's whole goal is to sit on the throne. Satan doesn't want to be God. He just wants to sit with God. He wants to have his own throne. For you are not mindful of the things of God. In other words, your mind is not working and thinking about the things God wants. Your mind is constantly thinking about the things you need. Number 3. You have to begin by visualizing that your ego is dead. Ego does not die easily. And even when you decide to kill your ego, it will try to rise constantly. It's just natural. It's just your nature. But you have to visualize it. And so here's how Jesus teaches it. Verse 34. When he had called the people to himself with his disciples also, he said to them, he said, okay, I've asked you, now I'm fixing to teach you something. You and everybody else that are around me. And this is not people that just came to him. It says, when he called the people to himself. These are people that were disciples or wanting to be disciples. Not the 12, but they were some of the 70. These were people that were loyal to Christ. And he says to all of that group, not just people that were just haphazardly coming for a miracle. These were his people, the people he called to him. And he said, okay, so let's talk about this, what I've just went through and what we've just learned, and let me show you something. He said to them, whoever desires to come after me, whoever desires to make me the Lord. If you choose to make me Lord of your life, it is not as simple as just saying, Lord, today I died, I put you on the throne. It's not that simple. You are transformed by the renewing of your mind. It is not a one-stop fix-all. But there's a process by which it takes place in which you grow stronger every single day. And here's how it takes place. When he called the people to himself, he and his disciples all, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, number one, let him visualize your ego as dead. Do not start with, Lord, I'll follow you. No. Start with, Lord, I will deny myself. They sound alike, don't they? But they're not. Was Peter following the Lord? 3 years. He's followed the Lord. I mean, he believes in the Lord. He's declared. But Jesus says, if he was talking just to Peter, he'd say, Peter, from this moment on, listen, whoever desires to come after me, if you're going to make me the Lord of your life, and here's the first thing I need you to do. I need you to deny yourself. I need you to get off the throne, and I need you to vacate it. Vacate the throne, and don't worry about all your stuff. Vacate the throne and deny yourself. When and it sounds strange, it is not, from this moment on, it is not you doing an action and getting something. From this moment on, it is the opposite. It is you believing in something and trusting it. Okay. Imagine you're a child and you want to go to the store. And your parent says, hey, I'll take you to the store in a little while. I've got some stuff I need to do. We'll get to that eventually. Don't worry, I got you. We're going to get to that and we'll go. A few hours has rolled by. Parents still working in the yard. You ain't got to go to the store yet. You need to get to the store. I mean, you got school tomorrow and you got to get some project stuff together. You come by and tell them, look, I need to go. I know, we're going to get there. Don't worry. Number one, do you go in the house and get the keys to your mom's car, and do you crank it, drive it to the store yourself, and go get it? Even though you're 12 years old and it's not your car. Or do you sit on the porch, eat ice cream, do whatever you want to do? They've done said they'll take care of it. And you just rest in the fact that they will take care of it. Which one do you do? Or let me give you the normal option C. You sit on the porch and whine and keep crying out, hey, I got to go. Hey. Until they finally look at you like, fine, we'll go. Or they look at you and say, look, I'm not going now because if you're going to act this way, I'm not even going to go get it for you. Which one do you do? A, go get the keys and try to do it yourself. That's Peter. I'll cut the ear off of somebody. I don't need you to help me. I'll take the keys. I know what I'm doing. Do you do B? You sit on their porch and just trust and believe, and which Jesus had hardly nobody that would do that. Or do you do C, which is like the other 11 that whined and complained and But the very first step is you vacating the throne, and that's the hardest step. It's hard to say, I'm just not going to worry about it anymore. Isn't it? How many times have you ever been to an altar and said, Lord, I'm giving you that child, and I'm just not, every time I think of it from this moment on, I'm just going to say, God, that's yours. I'm not worried about it no more. How hard is that? Because it's hard to vacate the throne. It's like, God, if I leave the throne, you don't know what's going to happen. And so many times that's where we get into the fight with God. We're constantly pushing God off the throne. We're wanting to take it, give it to God on Sundays. God, you take the throne. Just you have the throne. Just you sit on the throne. I don't want the throne. It's driving me crazy. And then come Monday, God, let me have this right here real quick because there's something I really need to do. And you don't seem to be doing it fast enough, so I'll take care of this. But the very first thing Jesus says is, whoever desires to come after me, whoever desires to walk with me, whoever desires to follow me, to let me have rulership, to be the Christ of your life, number one, let him deny himself. Let him vacate the throne. Let me see if I can give it to you this way. So number 4. Then we place Jesus on the throne of our life. Okay, how do I do that? Go to Mark 8:34. Let's read the rest. Whoever desires to come after me, let him first do what? Vacate the throne. Deny himself. Then do what? Take up his cross and follow. The process of putting Jesus on the throne of your life is not simply just saying, Lord, you got it. It is the process of me being transformed to where I do not see life the same way anymore. So let me show it to you in these actions. So before, when I'm living for self, I use actions to do what? To affect my attitude. So if you ask me how I'm doing, it depends on what I did that day. Depends what's going on in my life. How you doing? I'm not doing too good. Well, tell me what's going on. And we got a whole list of what's going on, the reason I'm not doing good. In the kingdom of God, it works the total opposite. My attitude is what affects my actions. It is my attitude that causes my actions to be changed. Let me show it to you this way. The Bible would describe it. Imagine another circle. This represents your life, but this picture, Jesus is on the throne. So now, instead of all these various things which were worry, anxiety, guilt, all these things that used to be there, we put Jesus on the throne and we got rid of all these. We denied ourselves, so we just said, look, all these things are gone. We're not going to live by these anymore. And Jesus said, good. Now that it's been cleaned, now we can bring the things in that I want to bring in. So what does Jesus bring in? Okay, when Jesus comes into your life, does he bring answers? Here's the thing. When Jesus comes into your life, what does he bring? What happens when you get saved? What changes? How? Okay, you start following. So the moment I get saved, all things are passed away. All things have become new. I'm not living by actions anymore to make my life better, which is the way I've always lived. Like I've got to do things and accomplish things and be things, and that's going to make my life better if I make enough money, if I have enough kids, if I all that's gone. So now God has changed it, and he says, now all that I'm bringing into your life is attitude, which will affect your actions. So how does he do that? He brings the Holy Spirit. When you're saved, you're transformed. He brings joy and peace, but he brings the Spirit. And the Spirit brings what? Love, joy, temperance, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness, kindness. This now is what Jesus sits on the throne of my life with. When Jesus is sitting on the throne of my life, this is the way my life looks. So my whole focus then is to make sure that my attitude is overriding my actions. It is making sure that the attitude that God wants me to have is full. That's why I come to church. Why do I come to church every Sunday? It's because I want God to fill me. I want Him to touch me. I want Him to restore me, refresh me. Why? What's He doing? He's refilling me with love and joy and peace and long-suffering and gentleness and kindness. And He's coming. I can do this in my house. I can do this at church. I can do this. But whenever I feel, now if I don't feel these things in my life, then what's going to happen? Do they just naturally stay good? No. What's going to happen? They're going to finally, and what am I going to do? Lord, I'm going to need to take over. This thing's not working. It's not working. This is what Peter does. Peter comes to Jesus with his life. And he comes to Jesus and he says, Thou art the Christ. Look, from following you and all the actions and everything that I've seen you do, you are the Christ. What was Peter's problem? He was still on the throne. So the moment the actions were changing, what happens to his attitude? So as soon as Jesus said, look, I'm fixing to go die, and I'm fixing to go through this, and so if I were to tell you tonight, hey, you've only got about 3 years to live. You'll be dead. Sorry. You got 3 years. How does that make you feel? Huh? If I'm on the throne, I'm trying to figure out what actions I need to do to make life make sense now. If God is on the throne, then yeah, for a moment it hurts and it'll knock me back, and it may take me a few days and give me just a whew. But what will rise up in me is my attitude will override my. That's why we praise people who have that relationship with God. It could be a little child who was diagnosed with cancer, and she's a Christian young girl, and she says, I'm going to start from the day to the day I die. I'm going to do this new raising money for this and doing all these different things. And you're thinking, why would a kid that doesn't have why would they spend all their energy doing? Because their attitude affects their. It's not living by your actions affecting your attitude. So Jesus is trying to teach. So if you can imagine this circle, and inside the circle now is not anxiety, it's not all the different things that I need. It's not the actions that I need. Now it's the attitude that I have. And when Jesus sits on the throne, that's how you know that your life is what it's supposed to be. When you place Jesus on the throne of your life and obey Him, you don't do it through duty, you do it through attitude. That's why Peter couldn't do it, because he didn't have the right attitude. He had the actions of a man who follows God, he had the attitude of Satan. And I have to ask myself sometimes, okay, Tim, let's take inventory. Do you have the actions of someone who loves the Lord, but you have the attitude of Satan? Which would mean it would make me, a word we know a lot, a hypocrite. That's the way I would describe it. I know I said it in a long term, but what I would say, Tim, are you a hypocrite? Are you telling people to do something, asking people to do something that you wouldn't do yourself? Are you telling people to believe something you wouldn't believe yourself? So God says, Tim, I don't need your actions to be right. I need your attitude to be right. Because if your attitude is right, your actions will follow. So if you deny yourself, Tim, you will then have the ability through me to do what? To take up your cross and do what? See, if I just tell you in here tonight, hey guys, what I need you to do is I need you to take up your cross. I need you to live right. I need you to follow Jesus. Whew. But if I tell you, guys, what we need to do tonight is we need to get our attitude toward Christ and who He is and how He loves us and how He's going to take. I need you to get your attitude right. Then it becomes natural that you would deny and follow and carry your cross. See, the reason church doesn't work now for most people and most congregations, and you go to church and you hear people hear great sermons, they hear great sermons, then they leave and do their own thing. Why? Because what they're doing is they're asking someone whose attitude has not changed to carry a cross and to follow Jesus. When they leave, all they're thinking about is all the stuff they need to do to make their life work. And Jesus says it won't work that way. Whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself, pick up his cross, and then follow me. For whoever desires to save his life, verse 35, for whoever desires to save his life, that means I'm going to sit on the throne and I'm going to save my life. I know what I need to do. We always think of whoever tries to save. No, what he means is whoever's in the throne trying to save his life, whoever tries to save his life will do what? Will lose it. You will lose your life to trying to gain, hold on to, fix. You save all your money for all your life because you're gonna do it, and then one day they tell you they're going to take you to the nursing home, and all you get is a little bedroom, and you sleep in there the rest of your life, and it's like, I did all of this for this? Anybody who tries to save their life, anybody who buys a car and says, I'm going to save my life, I'm going to fix this problem, and that's going to never, and 5 years from now, you'll lose it. But whoever loses their life, whoever says, I will do this for Christ's sake, will do what? You'll save it. For what will it profit a man? What will it profit you tonight if you gain the whole world and you lose your own soul? What will it profit you if you're Elvis Presley or Whitney Houston, or if you were a Kardashian tonight and you were multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire, but your life is as fake as a $3 bill? And it's just one misery, one marriage, one mess up, your dad don't know if he's a woman or a man, and you smile and just say, we got it. Don't you want what we got? What if you gain the whole world but you lose your soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his own soul? That's the question. To purchase it, to have it, to have the life you want, what would you be willing to give? And anyone who's ever followed Jesus, anyone who's ever had to make that decision knows what that is. They know the moments in their lives when, for me, when I had to come back from Birmingham, where I had to take down pictures of Jaguars that I was going to have. I had to quit the career that I was going to have to do what Christ. And someone would say, boy, that had to be hard. When we locked the doors in Caledonia on the house that I had dreamed since I was a child, that All I ever wanted was a pond and a house and a... You would say, man, I don't see how you could have done that. Because my attitude is what drove my actions. Not trying to sell something, give up something, or do something to make me feel better. That never works. I must feel better so that whatever I do in love. That's why the Bible says the Lord loves a cheerful. You understand that? What he's saying is when the attitude is right, the Lord is pleased with someone who enjoys loving, caring, being gentle, being kind. Let me wrap it up and see if I can sum it up. Number 5. So don't waste the most precious commodity you have. Give it to the cause of God. The greatest commodity you have in here tonight is not your future, not your talents, not your abilities, but your soul. And there's no limit to what God can do with a soul that He can take over and fill with His love and fill with His joy and fill with His kindness, fill with His Spirit. I just know that those 12 men, along with some others, turned the world upside down because their actions were not what was driving them. It was their love for the Lord. And the love for the Lord created actions that transforms the world. I'm going to read this story, and this will be the way I'll close it tonight. I love this story. Ulrich Bonhoeffer was a German pastor who knew a thing or two about discipleship. He wrote a classic book entitled The Cost of Discipleship, in which he wrote, "When Christ calls a man, He bids him come and die." Of course, he was talking about dying to self, but Bonhoeffer came to understand that denying self and taking up a cross sometimes leads to physical death as well. From the beginning of Hitler's rule in Germany, Bonhoeffer opposed him. Hitler used the German church to spread his message of Aryan supremacy and hatred against the Jews. Bonhoeffer was a part of a small splinter group called the Confessing Church that saw the evil of Hitler's leadership. Hitler was called Der Hofer, which means the leader. Der Führer. I'm trying, my German's not good. Der Führer, which means the leader. Bonhoeffer was speaking on the radio and once said, "There can only be one Führer for Christians, and it isn't Adolf Hitler. It is Jesus Christ." He didn't get to finish the radio address because the plug was pulled. He was part of several attempts to try to get rid of Hitler. He was arrested by the Gestapo and sent 2 years in concentration camps. 3 weeks before the war in Germany ended, on April 9th, 1945, 70 years ago this week, Bonhoeffer was led out of prison with several other prisoners. They were ordered to strip naked. They were led to the gallows to be hung. A physician who claimed to witness the death later wrote, "I saw Pastor Bonhoeffer kneeling on the floor, praying fervently to God. I was most deeply moved by the way the lovable man prayed, so devout, so certain that God heard his prayer. At the place of execution, he began and said a short prayer, and then climbed the few steps to the gallows, brave and composed. His death ensued after a few seconds, In the almost 50 years that I worked as a doctor, I have hardly ever seen a man die so entirely submissive to the will of God. In Bonhoeffer's last letter to a pastor friend in England, he wrote, "This is the end, but for me, it is the beginning of life." You may think how sad that he lost his life. No, he didn't lose it. He gained it. He lost himself in the cause greater than himself. And as a result, has impacted millions of disciples ever since. So what is your most precious possession? Is it your soul? Make sure you aren't wasting it. Instead, lose it for the cause of greater than yourself. Another article, John Piper wrote this: "The opposite of wasting your life is to live by a single, soul-satisfying passion for the supremacy of God in all things. If you want your life to count, if you want the ripple effect of pebbles you drop and become waves that reach the ends of the earth and roll to the intensity, you have to know," excuse me, I'm tearing up. "You have to drop and become waves that reach the end of the earth, to eternity. You have to know the great all-embracing thing and be set on fire by it. Like Paul declared, I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified." Tonight, every one of us will fight this battle. It is an ongoing battle. There are certain days where I tell Jesus, "Lord, look, I know what I need. I know what I need. You don't know what I need, but I know what I need." If I'm not careful, I'll sit there long enough to start feeling all the effects of what I need to do and what I've got to get. And man, I got to get. And God will say, "Are you living?" No. Then Tim, deny yourself. "But Lord, how will I know all?" Tim, let me sit on the throne. Quit worrying about all the stuff everybody else worries about. Just live out of love. Just live out of compassion. Just whatever your eyes and hands find to do, and I put it, do it. Those who find their life is because those who are willing to lose it. And the best days of my life are those days when I'm off the throne and I'm just watching God do what God does, and I'm amazed. And I'm amazed that God could use one little prayer that I may pray, or one person I may go check on, or just one kid that I go watch their ball game one night, and you don't think nothing of it, but it's just you losing your life and letting Christ live through it. It may cost you your life one day. It may cost me my life one day. But it's okay, because I'm already dead anyway. I'm just waiting for the day when I get to live. I'm waiting for the day when I finally get to live fully. Till then, whatever glory He can get through it, that's what I want. If you're in this room tonight and you say, "Pastor, I struggle with all the anxiety and all the stuff. I'm like Peter. One minute, Lord, I love you. And then the next thing, when things don't go right, I'm like, well, Lord, we don't need to be doing that." Then maybe you in this room tonight, you need to ask yourself, am I sitting on the throne of my life? Am I the one that's making the decisions, or am I letting Jesus, through whatever my life is giving me, am I just full of joy in it? Or is there something I need that'll finally make me happy? For me, there isn't. Oh, there's things I'd like to have, but they won't make me any more happy. They won't give me no more joy. I won't have any more peace. I'm already full with that. And that's the life God called us to live. Will you stand? Maybe in this little story of Jesus asking who I am, maybe I've showed you something more. I hope I have. From where He asked them, who am I, to what He was trying to teach them. And I hope you get it. If you're going to follow Him, deny yourself, quit trying to figure it out, quit trying to answer it all, pick up your cross and follow. It's good. Father, tonight, I don't know who that person is that it is not from a lack of working hard. No one ever looks at Peter and thinks Peter wasn't sincere. No one ever looks at Peter and thinks Peter didn't care. It's just Peter wanted to be in charge. He wanted to hold the reins. And it caused him enormous problems with walking with God. Even after Jesus was even gone, he still would hit the bumps. But God, let us learn. Let us just learn that if we would just die to ourselves, and that means just get off the throne, even though it scares us and we don't know how it's going to work, just get off the throne. Pick up the cross that God's given us. That means to die, walk toward our death, and follow Him. That God will find what we want, what we think we're losing. God, I praise You for it. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you.